Kevin Nash, welcome to Paris. Bienvenue.
Right.
Is this your first time in France?
No. At least 75 times in France. I've probably been to Paris 50.
Wow. Okay. Do you know any French?
No.
Okay.
No. When I lived in Europe, I knew some.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I could order and get around, but everybody speaks English.
Talking about pro wrestling, Kevin, nostalgia, it sells. You know, the 90s, that's 83 weeks of WCW beating WWF. It sells, and it's coming back, it seems. It's like it's not leaving us. Even today's pro wrestling generation is still very 90s, giving an homage of sorts. How do you explain that?
I guess it's kind of like the British invasion with rock and roll.
Yeah.
I mean, there's just an era in time where there was just, whether the stars were aligned right or whatever it is, but it's just like the first kind of pop, what became pop culture was probably in the 80s when Hulk was on Sports Illustrated, and then we took it to that next level, you know, and then just so happened the NWO formed, and, you know, I think it became more reality based, and it became hyper violent. And I think those things, you know, just attracted the core audience we were looking for.
It attracted me, for sure.
Thank you.
Yeah, it did.
Thank you.
If tomorrow you get a phone call from Tony Khan, from AEW, from All Elite Wrestling, you know, for an on-air talent, agent, head of talent, what do you tell him?
You know, my closest friend in the business is Paul Levesque. If I was going to work in the office or somebody, it would be with the WWE. And I mean, I wish them well. I wish Tony and the guys well. I think it's great that there's that somebody's putting some money out there and guys are getting paid again, and there's a chance for them to get the most for their, you know, for their time in the ring. But I left once. And it was for the right reasons, and I think it was the right payoff. But at this point right now, I'm happy. I'm a WWE guy.
Fair enough. Talking about when you left the first time, the WWF, you often said that because of your family situation, you decided to go work for Turner. If you were, back in those days, a single guy, and you didn't have to provide for your family, would you still have jumped to WCW?
Probably not. I worked 323 days a year before that.
Yeah, working for Vince.
And I worked 200 days for Turner.
Crazy.
So that took 100. You know, I took 100 plus days off that I was allowed to be with my son.
So those 300 plus days a year to wrestle, that leaves a stigma on your body. How do you think your career would have been if you got less injured?
Well, the thing with me is I broke in to pro wrestling with a very bad right knee, like from basketball. Like I basically couldn't play basketball anymore because I was so injured. So I basically went into it injured, and I just kind of dragged that leg around until it just. And I think that's the reason I tore the quad was, you know, I pulled my body around with my left leg, and then finally the left leg gave out and that quad tore, and then I had my knee replaced last December. And I don't know why I waited so long, but
how do you feel? Do you feel good now?
I mean, I feel good. I mean, I'm beat up. You know, I've had,
who wouldn't be?
Yeah, this shoulder's been reconstructed twice. This one's 3 times. You know, biceps, triceps. I mean, there's not a piece of body. I mean, it doesn't have a scar, but it is the fight game.
It is. Talking about another game as a segue, the acting game. You've been a bouncer in John Wick. You've been playing a stripper in Magic Mike. You've been playing Shredder in Teenage Mutant Hero Turtles. The acting gig, is that an objective for you? Is that something you're working on?
Yeah.
And do you feel you get, you know, stereotype casted
absolutely.
Because of your size?
The day I'll be the happiest is when I'm reading for a 6'10" dentist or a 6'10", you know, prosecuting attorney. You know, most of the time I read something and I've got an axe in my hand. You know,
yeah,
it's you know, it is stereotypical, but at the same time, if you want somebody 6'10" that weighs 300 pounds and you don't want to CGI him, I'm kind of your guy.
You are. Hey, I remember one match because I'm a wrestling fan, okay, and I'm 36 now. So during the Monday Night War and just prior, I was 13, 14. HBK versus Big Daddy Cool Diesel. As far as I'm concerned, probably your best match I ever saw. If you had to pick one over your whole career, which one would it be? This one or another?
That was a good one because that was kind of the first hardcore match before there were hardcore matches.
Yeah.
We used the fire extinguisher. We did a lot
prosthetic
of things.
Leg.
Yeah, we used a lot of things that hadn't been used before.
Yeah.
I think the match that I had Survivor Series with Brett, where I lost the championship.
1995.
Yeah, I thought that was a good match. I thought the match that me and Scott Hall had in Vegas, which is a very hard crowd, Halloween Havoc
98.
Yeah, I thought that was good. And then I thought that the Hell in a Cell with Hunter,
2003,
Bad Blood maybe it was called.
Yeah.
It was in Houston, and I think it was the first time that the two combatants didn't leave the ring. This didn't leave the cage, which was my pet peeve.
You tell the story in that cage.
Exactly, and that's the psychology of it. And I told him I wasn't going to go on top. I wasn't going to do anything stupid. I was going to do it on the inside.
WWF Championship, WCW, tag team in both companies, Triple Crown champion in WWF. Which title meant the most in your whole career, and why?
I think that the one that meant the most was the Intercontinental. So it was the first one I ever won. Yeah. That Intercontinental Championship was basically saying that you're next in line. Yeah. Like you usually go from there to the world.
It's a stepping stone.
Yeah, and it was huge. And I remember saying like I'd finally arrived.
If today you were the head booker for WWE, what would be the first thing you do?
Somewhat change the format.
Yeah. Of Raw, you mean?
Yeah, just that starts out pretty much the same every week, where somebody comes down, cuts a promo, they get cut off, and basically the main event is set up in the first 15 to 20 minutes.
Okay.
You know, so
tell a story throughout the show.
Right. And I just think 3 hours is too long.
It's heavy.
It is.
Monday, then SmackDown, then NXT.
It was. You know, when we did. When we moved the Nitro from 2 to 3 hours, that was a big killer for us.
Then you had Thunder.
Yeah.
On Thursday nights.
And it was just like, and we taped it Tuesdays.
For those injuries, doesn't help when you take bumps.
Yeah. So it was like, so we would do it. We would tape it on Tuesday, and then you had to, like when I was booking, you had to write 3 hours Nitro, 2 hours Thunder, but since you were doing the Thunders together, you had to book Nitro to fit between that Thunder to make that work. So you were booking 10 hours of TV every Wednesday and flipping it. And one person got hurt, retiming. It was just logistically it was a nightmare.
I'll say a few names, and can you give me the word that comes to your mind?
Okay.
Hulk Hogan.
Greatest ever.
Triple H.
One of my dearest friends.
Eric Bischoff.
Visionary, a good friend, and secured my financials. You know, he secured me financially for life.
Vince Russo.
I think he has a great mind. I think he gets it. I think that he books not for the smart mark, but for the masses. And I don't know. I've always thought that he's got a very good, very underrated wrestling mind.
Mm-hmm. Bill Goldberg.
Good, great guy. Great guy.
Shawn Michaels.
Without Shawn Michaels making a phone call to Rob Steiner, Rick Steiner, and asking if I would come be his bodyguard, I don't know if I'm standing here right now.
Curtin Cole?
I mean, people think that was something that was like this big planned sabotage kayfabe, and it was organic. It was like four friends saying goodbye to each other, and looking at it that night, and everybody getting so upset about it. It's like then you look back at it in history, and you're like, that was a pretty significant moment in time where we just said, hey, it's more important that we have our goodbye and everybody else can screw yourself.
Last question. What's next for Kevin Nash?
I just was out in LA and I had a bunch of meetings. I'm healthy now. I'm looking for projects as far as acting. I got another friend of mine that's been working on a product line. We're going to try to basically bridge fitness and fashion. So we're working on that. It's a thing called Limitless. So keep an eye out for Limitless.
We'll do that.
And just be an entrepreneur, but most importantly, be a 1099, not be owned. Be my own man and work my own schedule.
Sounds good. Thanks for being so honest, Kevin.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Easy.
Yeah, no, wow.